Thank you. My name is Doug, and I am an alcoholic. And I'd like to thank Lisa for asking me to be a suspect. I was a little apprehensive because of the whole suspect word, and it's like, do they think I'm not sober? Is that why she's asking me to come do this? What's going on here? But no, now I got a better idea of what's going on. So I got like 15 minutes. I didn't plan for this. I'm used to public speaking. I speak in big crowds. I'm a safety director for an architectural sheet metal company here in town. So I'm used to giving big, long speeches and presentation stuff. So this doesn't bother me. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants this time, which is something that I think we're all used to at one time or another. So my story, I guess you could say I was a late bloomer. My first drink wasn't until I was 19 years old. And that night I ended up in the hospital, and I woke up the next morning with a charcoal tube down my throat and then pumping my stomach. And then I didn't drink again until I was 33 or 34. So I went that whole time dry. In that time, I had a daughter, and I ended up raising her from 3 years on until she moved out a few years ago. And bless her soul. I was, like I said, I was dry. I was a total asshole. I didn't know. I believe in God. I just didn't know him or know what it was. You know, I knew there was a power greater than myself. I didn't pray. I didn't go to church, except for those. What do you call it? Emergency prayers or something where you're in a bind. Help get me out of this. I won't do it again. When she was 14, she told me that she was gay. And so this was 10 years ago. And I remember, and I'd already started drinking prior to that, a little bit here and there, but it was beer only, and it was a social thing. When she told me that, I started drinking whiskey, and that was my downfall. Very quickly, things just, went to heck. I mean, it took me a long time to come into the rooms because I didn't believe I was an alcoholic. The first time I came into the room, it was suggested by a good friend of mine, and she said that I might be an alcoholic. And I went in there and I heard the stories, and it didn't resonate with me. I've never been incarcerated. I've never had a DUI. I've never lost a job because of alcoholism. So I couldn't see myself in you guys. And so I stopped going and I continued to drink. And when my daughter just after she turned 16, she decided to move out, and she moved to Eastern Oregon. And I was living down in Western Oregon at the time. And that's when I started slipping really fast. And I started coming to these rooms. Probably I've lived in Seattle 9 years, so it's been about that long. And my sober date is December the 6th of 2024. I have the habit of getting 6, 9, 10 months and then going back out for a night. Fortunately, all the times I've went out, it's only been for one evening. I have the habit of when I drink, I call friends. It doesn't matter what time it is. And my last drunk, the only friends I have are in the rooms of AA. And my last drunk, I called a lady friend of mine. This was on a Friday night. I don't know what I said. I know the conversation lasted like 43 minutes from the next day. I woke up that Saturday, and the remorse and the guilt and the shame I felt was something I've never, ever felt before in my life, because this was a very dear friend of mine. And I went through all day Saturday and Sunday thinking that was going to be destroyed, and that I was done, So I didn't drink Saturday or Sunday. The guilt got to me Monday. I called her and I told her that I'd been drinking when I called, and she said that she knew, which is something that I thought I was pretty good at hiding it. And, I continued to ask for forgiveness on anything I might have said, but I guess nothing too inappropriate because I still talk to this person. So back up a little bit. Prior to that, I had found a sponsor and went through the steps, did 4th, 5th, was in practice the 10, 11, 12, raising my hand to be a sponsor, and at this point, I was coming up right on about 9 months. And when I did my 5th step, I left a couple things out. One of the things I didn't even think about while doing my 4th step. So after my relapse, I was just in total disarray. And this woman approached me after the meeting and said that she would take me through the steps. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because we've all had trauma, right? But I've had some pretty traumatic stuff happen that I felt I could only speak to a woman about. So when she took me through the steps and I was able to do a thorough 4th and 5th step, she let me go and told me to find a male sponsor, which I have now, which I'm very grateful to be able to go through the steps with her. And now my new sponsor, I'm back on my 4th step again and learning more stuff. The thing that I'm learning now is the sex inventory, which I thought I really didn't need during my first, and that was one of the things I left out because, I haven't even dated in 24 years, and it's like, so what's going to go on my inventory? If there's no sex, no inventory, right? Well, I'm learning through the patterns now especially after talking to him today about it and stuff, the reason behind that, why I'm choosing to stay single, not date. There's always a reason. She has kids. She's too young. There's always a reason. But I'm learning this time around more about myself than I ever learned before. So I feel pretty confident, going into the 5th step Tuesday again, that this is going to be all right because I was able to tell this man within hours of him saying that he would be my sponsor, the things that I told my female sponsor that I would swear I was going to take to the grave. For me, when I did that first initial 5th step, it took the power away from a lot of that. And I realized, that a lot of my resentments were caused by just me holding on to stuff, and so I'm learning slowly not to hold on to stuff, Stone, not to take life so serious, to see things from another's perspective, I guess. Yeah, I retired like 7 weeks ago. And I went back to work this week. I found myself just procrastinating. I was telling Lisa before the meeting, it's like I got this long laundry list of items to do, and I found myself sitting in front of the TV watching Antique Road because they got the roadshow on 24 hours. So I watched that and I put it off till tomorrow, and then the next day I wake up and put it off till tomorrow, hit a meeting, and that's all I was doing was going to meetings, watching Antique Roadshow and working on my 4th step. So now I'm back to work part-time, which is good because I got an office to go to and I can, be around normies, which is okay for me. My relationship with, is that how much time I got left? All right. Take 5 minutes of silence. Relationships are still difficult, With my daughter, it's kind of off and on. You know, I neglected her so much and rejected her so much when she was a teenager that there's still a lot what I'm perceiving as animosity towards me. But it's getting better. At least we're talking every once in a while. Um, every once in a while I'll drive down there. She didn't want me to drive down there for her birthday on the 12th of July, which is okay. The thing that I'm finding is, the thing I'm finding most difficult about sobriety is the obsession has been lifted. I don't want to drink, but every single morning I wake up in self. The first thing in my thoughts when I wake up is, how can I get this? How can I make this person believe this? How can I get over on this person? It's all self-will. And what I've learned is to pray and meditate first thing in the morning. Now me, I'm a little bit older, pushing 50. Young for this crowd. So after I do my morning things that we got to do in the morning, that's exactly what I do, is get on my knees on my bed and I pray and I meditate, which was really difficult, you know, through the years that I've been trying to get sober for a few years now. I thought I knew how to pray. You know, I had this ritualistic prayer in my head that I would say, you know, mainly for me and my daughter, and it wasn't about anything else. So I learned to pray for others. I learned to pray to be of service. How can I be helpful to somebody? And then I learned to meditate, which is the biggest thing for me because I never knew how to do it. And it was suggested to me that I load this app on my phone. And it takes you through like a guided meditation for like 10, 15 minutes. So I did that for about a month or two, and that got me to the point to where now sometimes I'm in meditation for 45 minutes and it's nothing. You know, I come to and an hour's gone, you know, and those are the blessed days that I have, you know, when like I said, I wake up in self every day. When I kind of half-ass the prayer and meditation, I'm still in self throughout the day, and it all goes down the toilet, most of it. And then I go home and I'm wondering why my day was so miserable. It's because I didn't let go and let God. I'm working on it, you know. I'm better today than I was yesterday as far as my spiritual connection, but it takes maintenance for me. It's not a one and done. I have to stay connected with this higher power. Service, you know, I try to be of service. You know, I try to say yes all the time. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. I got a service sponsor. You know, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I got a minute left. So I guess I'll tell a funny story. I told myself I wasn't going to tell a story, but when I get drunk, I like to take off my clothes. So I got this story. And then I'll leave it with that. But so when I was buying houses or renting, and this is down in Oregon, I would always choose my location, and it has to be within walking distance to at least 2 bars. Because like I said, I've never had a DUI. I've never even drank and drove because I'm so scared of it. I had family members that did it and, you know, caused a lot of damage. So I didn't know at the time, but I would always, hey, I can walk a mile to this pub, and when I get kicked out of this one, I can walk to this one. And then by the time I get kicked out of this one, I'm cool back at this one. And so I would do that. Well, and I don't know what it was, but ever since I was a teenager, I always wanted to streak through like a football game or a baseball game. So that's in the back of my head. I don't want to do that anymore. But so I go to the bar and, you know, I'm drinking the whiskey and it always makes me black out. And I wake up the next morning in my bed, but all of my clothes, my shoes, my hat, they're gone. And so to get to this bar, it's about half a mile away, and you gotta walk. The police station was there, and they have this big field in the back where they do their training. And so I'd always cut through that because it was a lot faster to get there. Well, and that's the way I came home, and it's like, where are my shoes? And so I'm kind of retracing my steps throughout the house, couldn't find them. So I get cleaned up and put on my clothes, and I'm retracing my steps to the bar.
Oh.
And in the back of the police station, in this field, in the middle of the field is all of my clothes, my pants, my underclothes, my shoes, my socks, are all in a pile in the middle of this field. I dodged a bullet, and I can still say I've never been arrested. With that, I'm out. Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah.